What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is September 15th of 2017. So over the past week or so on my channel, I've seen in the comments down below a lot of requests to cover a formal ICO that came out back in late June of 2017. And it is no other than the Patientory ICO. I've been meaning to cover it on my channel for quite some time because when it launched back in June, I remember seeing it and kind of getting a little bit excited. I usually don't do that with ICOs. But the reason I got excited was because it seemed like every single day there was 1 to 5 new ICOs coming out proclaiming to fix massive problems and issues. But I've been screaming for the past few months while watching all this happen as to why there was no ICO trying to fix healthcare data management. It seemed like a perfect fit to match with blockchain, and I knew it was a serious issue. As you all know, probably before my YouTube channel, I had a pretty serious interest following in data analytics, following database management, and I knew that healthcare, more than any industry right now, not only is it one of the most important industries to run efficiently, but along with that, it's one of the most outdated in the sense of technology, data management, and it's one of the most colluded in the sense of regulation and trying to meet all that, but at the same time providing an experience for both the healthcare provider, your doctor, as well as the individual at the end of the day to get the information they need and to get it accessible so you can make the right solutions at the right time. It's a very complicated industry right now, and it's something that needs to be fixed as soon as possible. And this is why I got really excited to see someone implementing, like Patientory is, using blockchain for fixing this issue. So again, this is a really big issue. The question is though, is Patientory going to be that solution? How is Patientory utilizing the blockchain to really do this effectively? We're going to be talking about that, what their tech is, their objectives for the long term, how big this market really is, how many issues they're trying to really solve, and then we'll also take a look at the team and do some technical analysis at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's jump into the analysis on Patientory. But first, as always, we've got to look into the numbers. So here on CoinMarketCap, we can see that Patientory is definitely a small cap, sitting down a little bit under $30 million. So if this really does get to the full scale that it's aiming to be, I mean, it would be a billion-dollar cryptocurrency. But right now, we're sitting at around $29 million, nothing fancy. It's definitely still early on. We can see that the volume has picked up recently. We have a decent amount of volume for something valued at only under $30 million, over $4.4 million in volume over the past 24 hours. And we can see that the circulating supply is 70 million Patientory tokens out of the 100 million that are going to be in the total supply. So definitely not bad. So let's go ahead and really dive into Patientory. I'm ready to jump into it and start talking about what their objectives are. So Patientory has a very clean, marketable website. It makes it easy and understandable to really get what they're trying to do. So they're trying to make sure that you can manage healthcare data securely. Make sure that there is easy accessibility for people who should have access to it, as well as encrypting and kind of distributing it along the blockchain to keep it secure and not make it weary to the attack or the hacking of individuals who want to take that information. So it's a very big issue. We'll learn later on throughout the video that this is a pretty serious problem. There's millions of people who get their healthcare data stolen each and every year. Hacks are continuing to be prone. We just saw with Equifax, there was a huge breach of information. So this is becoming more and more of a topic, and I think blockchain is going to become the clear solution to this, as well as making it accessible. So Patientory is aiming to be the leading provider of blockchain solutions for healthcare. As I've been saying for years, I think this is important. You can store, manage, and control access to your data. So again, making sure to store what you want to put on there, making sure you can get it into the right hands, your provider, your doctor, whatever it may be, and making sure you can get access to that data whenever you need it. Communicating with your care team and community in real time, so making sure you can contact your doctor, send vital information when you need to. Again, this is all very important. Easy access to your data on your phone, laptop, or iPad. This has become a very big thing, making sure you can get access on your mobile phone and any kind of tablet or device so you can access it 24/7, or if you can get important alerts from your doctor. I know, for example, I use an email notification system from my doctor if I need to get in contact with him. And then also you can be assured that your data is being secure. Now, how exactly do they secure that? Well, let's go ahead and we can see that they've already kept in mind how they can provide the system for all three parties, patients, providers, and healthcare organizations. So again, they're keeping a whole integrated community idea in mind to make sure that it's smooth for everyone, that everyone can be a part of it, because you need that. And that's why it's so complicated right now. The difference in parties is really one of the biggest factors as to why it's so difficult, and integrating all those systems together and making it easy and accessible for everyone. So let's go ahead, as we were saying before, as to how they make their data secure, really what the market is and the issue at hand, and we'll learn about how they're trying to correct that. So, in their why Patientory section, they really do list a lot of good statistics here. Over 117 million Americans right now, I mean, it's a very big issue in America specifically, but it's a global issue as well, have been diagnosed with one or more chronic illnesses. America's health is not the best in the world. We can be fair about that. But it is leading to become a very big industry because of that. And managing all the data that you need to keep track of all those serious illnesses, some of them life-threatening, is extremely important, and making sure that you can get access to that information when you need it most. So this is a very vital industry. It has lives on the line, and there's a lot of money involved with it as well. So very important industry. And you can see that it says over almost 2,600, that's a weird way of saying it. 2,600 hospitals face over $500 million in penalties under U.S. government readmissions. So basically, it's going through certain regulations, violating certain regulations on getting healthcare to the right people, making sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, making sure that you can give access to individuals when they need it, when there's life-threatening situations. And this is really caused by siloed EHR systems, and EHR stands for electronic health records. This is a really big issue in healthcare data management, probably one of the biggest. And Patientory we're gonna learn later on how to fix this, but you can see right here, this is one of the biggest names in healthcare, Patrick Su-Xiong. He's one of the founders of Nat Health, which is a very big company in the healthcare space that's aiming. He originally has run a lot of different companies, but that's his main focus now, is really kind of making data accessible to everyone. He's been talking about this for a while. I follow both of his companies that are publicly traded in equities markets, and it is a serious issue. I think everyone in the healthcare sector is really trying to fix it, but there hasn't been that one-size-fits-all solution, and I think that we could see it with Patientory or some other kind of blockchain application. We can also see that, as we were talking about, data breaches, serious issue, over 112 million records. 112 million. I mean, this really isn't as, kind of a fairy tale scenario. This is really real, folks. We just saw it with Equifax just a week ago. Millions of Americans, over 100 million American consumers, lost their personal information. Having it in these centralized institutions, like Equifax did, puts your information viable for hackers, for people who want to take that information and use it either against you or for their own benefit. I mean, this is really serious, and it leads to billions of dollars in damage. So again, this is a market that I think a lot of both consumers and also healthcare providers and doctors would like to integrate into their daily lives. So we see there's a need for it. We see that blockchain could be that solution. So what are they aiming to do? Well, Patientory from the get-go wants to work with all three systems, patients, healthcare providers, and clinicians, and really help at the get-go of making sure that information stays in the right hands, is encrypted, scattered throughout the blockchain, and making sure that really there is no chance of a data breach on someone's personal information. It's a perfect way to do it using blockchain technology. So they're also going to be connecting and interconnected with any kind of EHR system. So that right there is kind of the bridge that is going to break all of the inefficiencies. They're going to make sure that Patientory's blockchain system can integrate with these EHR systems and distribute that information securely, and it's accessible when we need it. But until we need it, it's completely scattered across the blockchain, and it's not something I could just simply find and I can steal your information. No, I can't do that, because it's on the blockchain, it's broken up, it's scattered, and we'll learn a little bit more about that as we look through the technology section. So it's patient-centered enterprise. It's a patient-centered enterprise solution, meaning that they are going to have all kinds of mobile applications, desktop applications, easy access to get your information published on to the Patientory blockchain, and make sure that it's not only secure, but also make sure that you can get in contact and access other people, such as your doctors or healthcare providers, with that vital information. So it's really interesting. I think that making it easy to use, making it as simple as being able to use my mobile phone to plug in information, communicate with my doctor securely, things like that. are really going to make the Patientory platform stand out. So what do they use to do all this? Well, we see that they use encrypted middleware. This middleware is kind of like a bridge between the database and the overall operating system that you use to in the platform for Patientory. So middleware is, again, picture it like a bridge between two things that originally were very hard to meet, or at least communicate effectively. So it's encrypted. It's a middleware to meet the high volume demands of modern day health IT. So first off, right off the bat, really great. The APIs with electronic health records for fast medical information transfer. Again, another good selling point. And then HIPAA, compliant protected health. So they're making sure to meet regulations on how this data is transferred, stored, and met to the consumer. Now, I'm going to go to an article real quick to explain what exactly HIPAA is. This was a law that was passed, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This was passed back in the 1990s. And basically speaking, if we scroll down, we can quickly learn the purpose of it. I could read through the paragraph, but it's basically, like I stated, making sure information, there was a few other parts in the sense of making sure people don't lose their health insurance, but the other second big factor that's becoming more and more relevant and healthcare companies are having to comply with is making sure that that information gets into the right hands at the right time and it is secure, okay? So again, what we've been kind of enforcing throughout the entire video. And what's nice to see is that right off the bat, they understand that HIPAA, being HIPAA compliant, is extremely important. So, going through here, we can learn about, what it's good for, tech savvy for patients, for providers, and you can see the numbers here are fantastic. 85% decrease in hospital readmissions and penalties. That's huge. If a healthcare company, any kind of provider can save that much money, I don't think they'd, give a damn about paying a little bit towards the Patientory community for the system. Well, we'll learn how they utilize Patientory. It's not exactly free to store data on the Patientory blockchain, and this is where the token value is going to come in. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So again, we can see the need here, and we can also see, if I go over here real quick, you can also see a framework of how everything works. This is a little more of a complicated system. But if we go over here towards the white paper, this is a good visualization of it. It's a connection between all three parties and utilizing blockchain as well as the kind of older infrastructure of healthcare, but making sure that older infrastructure can communicate things through the blockchain effectively. So again, I recommend you read through the white paper. It's a little bit, I'd say a little bit clustered. There's a lot of information to take in, but at the same time, it's worth the read. If you really want to invest in this in the long term, you need to see if they actually have the backbone behind them to really make this a reality, because healthcare is a massive industry and there is no one-size-fits-all approach. They really need to build integrations to make it easy to access Patientory and to get that information onto the Patientory platform. So let's go ahead real quick and look a little bit at the team now. We see that they have, a functioning UI here and everything. They're working on a personal concept. Before we jump into the team, I do want to mention, because I feel like I'd forget it if I don't mention it now, it is not an open source platform. It is closed sourced, and the encryption that they use is closed. They don't really mention it. That's why it has to be closed source. So any kind of application that you use to access Patientory is going to have to be developed by the team. But we'll learn as we look through the team that they have, for the team members that they do have, mostly developers. So we're going to look at two individuals specifically in a minute. We're going to look at Krissa and Rob, who are the founder and CEO and the chief software architect, which I think are the two most important people you should look at in the sense of a team. And then along with that, we have a decent amount of developers. We have a front-end designer, UI designer for the Patientory platform. We have a lead developer. We have a director of ecosystem development. And then we also have a marketing associate. So again, a nice range of what you really need for the base foundation of a team. But as well as that, they have some advisors on the advisory board. So again, it looks like they have some people helping to manage the project. It's good. I will say, though, that even though as we dive through, it looks like there's some impressive individuals on the team, we're going to have to see more people join the Patientory platform. Now, they do have a careers page. They're hiring new people, but they've really got to expand on it because this is a serious industry. This is a massive, massive opportunity, but they've got to deliver on it right. And we'll learn that later on there's a few other competitors in the space as well. So let's go ahead, take some time and look into Krissa's LinkedIn page. We can see here that she is the founder and CEO. She's been there for about 2 years. And over the past few years, she really had a focus in startups. It looks pretty much generally what she's been focused in the startup area for healthcare. She's been focused in raising capital in the kind of startup space. All these things, Boomtown Accelerator, Startup Health. This is all kind of, either angel investing VC funds or accelerator programs. I mean, this is interesting stuff. It shows that she has some experience in it. And she's also worked in some medical laboratory research foundations. It seems like she had an early focus on in laboratory research, which is cool. I think that's an important part of healthcare. But again, she looks like she has a very professional profile behind her. It seems like she's been in this for quite some time. And I've heard that she's done some pretty good interviews. So if you can go, look up the interviews online and stuff if you want to learn a little bit more. Chris has done some interviews before, and she seems to talk very well about the platform. The other person I want to look at is Rob. So Rob is focused in cybersecurity. This is a big aspect of, protecting that healthcare. And the one thing I noticed is it only shows that he has experience as the CEO of his own company, Med Cybersecurity, and it says it closed down in 1995. But I found a website with his name on it later on, and it's just kind of looks a little bit simple, kind of outdated. Nothing maybe serious. Maybe he's not really working on it right now. But to know that he at least has experience running a company focused in this space, to know what HIPAA is all about and making sure to meet those legal compliances, I think that's important and stuff. But I would like to hear maybe more about his experience. Maybe there's some interviews out there with him. But again, I'd love to have someone on here and really learn about their experience and stuff. I don't want to downplay it or anything like that. But seems like they've got people who focused in this industry, which I like. It seems like they're not just stepping into like, healthcare data on the blockchain. They really seem to kind of get it, and they've worked in the sector for a while. And it's good to see that they have such an amount of openness and advisors as well on the team. So again, everything's looking pretty good. I gotta say, Patientory seems like one of the more professional approaches to this, and I'm surprised it took all the way till June of 2017 for an ICO to launch this. But better late than never, So we'll have to definitely keep an eye on Patientory. So the last thing I want to talk about outside of it, though, as much as I'm optimistic on it, the one criticism I'm going to say before I do technical analysis is, as I said earlier, they're not the only one in this space. There's a few other competitors. I know there's one that just launched in China not too long ago. It's a decent amount smaller than Patientory, but there are other competitors in this space, and it's something that if someone could do it better and get the adoption first and foremost, they could beat out Patientory. It's that factor of adoption. Guaranteeing that sense of encryption and ease of use, having good decentralized applications to access the blockchain, but at the same time, making sure that you can get that sense of adoption, that those one or two big name companies that are really going to shoot the project forward and really make Patientory a big name. And the last thing I want to talk about, because I almost forgot to talk about, is the token's value. So as we were talking about it earlier and stuff, the platform is not free. The way the token itself gains value at its core is that healthcare providers, if they want to store your information on the Patientory platform and manage their patients securely, they need to buy Patientory tokens. So that's the market concept. As large names adopt the Patientory platform, if you're holding Patientory tokens, well, eventually they're going to pay premiums on prices. They're going to offer to pay, the ask on the price, and they're going to keep buying them up and pushing up the price in the long term, because that data and that storage of your information is going to become important for them. They need to use it they need it to use the platform, basically. So again, that's the main selling point, that you are going to be able to sell your tokens at a higher price because there's healthcare providers that are going to need it to store people's healthcare information on the blockchain. And it still, at the end of the day, will be cheaper than traditional systems and much more secure. So seems interesting to me. If you want to learn more about it on the fundamental side, go read the white paper. I think it's a good read if you really can sit down and read through it. The last thing I want to talk about, though, is a little bit of technical analysis, a little bit of a trader's perspective on this. Patientory has been gaining traction. It's been gaining some volume over the past few days. We got a decent amount of volume over the past 2 days outside of today. And it seems like we've got a decent amount so far for the time that we've been through for the current day. However, the price action got a little bit jumpy. I mean, we've been in a very turbulent time in markets right now, to be fair. It's the middle of September, and right now markets are pretty much going down. But Patientory's been holding up pretty well. And most of the losses from yesterday have been regained. So, in the general speak of things, I actually covered Patientory, though, in my top 5 coins for October. I don't know when you're watching this, but at the same time, I will say that Patientory right now, if it's generally around this price level, it's cheap. It's the leading solution right now. There's no one out there that has a better sense of concept, better market, actual pending closed source technology that they're trying to implement. They're going to be releasing demos soon of it. So I would say keep active with it and really see if this continues to gain momentum. I can't really get too much technical analysis here outside of the fact that what it looks like it's doing is an ICO reversal. We talked about this on my top 5 coins. An ICO reversal is much like an IPO, or initial public offering, on traditional stock markets. When a company goes public, it usually launches off at a pretty high valuation, a little overvalued for the start, and then it sells off. Same thing as Patientory did as an ICO. And what you see is usually you see the sell-off, it kind of flattens out, starts to gain a little bit of traction, and then you see the breakout to test the previous highs of the ICO. And once it breaks out above those highs, you get a rally. You get a serious run-up in the value of the cryptocurrency, or the ERC20 token, whatever it may be. So keep an eye on Patientory. I think it's interesting. I like that we're seeing a little bit of that rebound, and we're starting to see some volume after quite some time back after its ICO launch, where it was just kind of dead. That's why I stayed away from it. I didn't really look at it. But in the long term of things, even though it's gone up a little bit, I still think it's cheap. It's only at $30 million. If you all really think this can bring blockchain to healthcare, I mean, this could be a multi-billion-dollar cryptocurrency. It's just going to have to wait for the sense of adoption and make sure that it stays ahead of the competition, make sure that they bulk up their team, really get a lot of people on there, make sure that it smoothly transitions into the healthcare sector. It's not an easy objective. But I will say, I think it's feasible. I think it's smart to use blockchain. And I hope at the heart of it all, no matter if you're investing in it or not, or whether or not you're bullish or bearish on it, I hope it works, because there are lives in the line in this kind of industry. And to see people using blockchain for that, something that I'm very passionate about, it's cool to see that. And it's cool to see just in general innovation in this space for healthcare. Anyways, everyone, what do you all think about it? Do you think that it's a buy at these levels? Do you think Patientory is going to be a good long-term player? Do you believe that they can be the leader in this space? Or do you think there's someone else who's doing it better that I should cover on my channel? Is there a coin or token you'd like to see covered on the channel? If you meet any of those categories, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you and get a discussion going in the community. That being said, everyone, thank you all so much for watching the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.